Wake you up, Wallet. Alright, so I was on such a roll and so happy with my first video that it's like, alright, I just need to jump right into Sonic 2. The only caveat that I make for Sonic 2, although I love Tails, it's the 1.5 player mode is kind of cute, but he kind of messes up a lot of my strategies. I just prefer to go Sonic alone. Let's go. If you haven't watched my Sonic 1 video, which, okay, not everyone's perfect. This is part of the series where I'm, excuse me, completing every Genesis game in my collection. We're starting off easy with the stuff that I've beaten hundreds of times. I just had dinner, my throat's still really scratchy. I was so excited, I couldn't wait to start filming again. But as I mentioned in that first video, I got Sonic 2 in the mail. Mail-in offer from Sega when my family got our Genesis in 1992. And this is exactly the same copy. Cartridge, case, everything that we got back then. No one has ever played it than me. So if you're not very well versed with Sonic games, but you watched when you play Sonic 1, you should be able to immediately tell, like, how much faster this game is. It's, like, bolder, more colorful in your face, you know, faster, like, it's just, like, yeah, definitely a bigger and bolder game. And although some of this, like, art style, like the checkered levels and all that, is part of Sonic 1, like this is the game that really cemented the Sonic style. And the sense of momentum was greatly increased. Like in Sonic 1, the fastest you could make Sonic go, unless you had the speed shoes, was by rolling. But in this one, even just running, Sonic is way faster. And you can hold a higher top speed with just the direction pad. And then of course there's the spin dash, which lets you immediately take off at a big burst of speed, which solves a lot of navigation problems that the first game ran into. Not just for speedrunning purposes, but even for like exploration or trying to backtrack to a certain spot. Like, without the spin dash, it can get tricky. Yeah. But it's still all with one button. That's what's so brilliant. The quasi-3D effect of these special stages was pretty trippy back then. gonna go for the 100% complete mega happy ending, but because this is the first game that had Supersonic, and Supersonic is pretty much a crutch. Like, its invincibility, increased speed, all that fun stuff. I'm going to try avoid using him at all, or at least as little as possible. It's a little harder to control the Supersonic transformation than in Sonic 3, so I'll probably just see if I can avoid getting the last Emerald until, like, the last possible stage. Aw, Coconuts, you traitor. Get all that beautiful parallax scrolling. So, we do have a longer game here than Sonic 1, even though most of the zones now have 2 acts instead of 1. We still have a bigger game, there's a lot more levels, and there's a little bit more visual storytelling going on than in Sonic 1, and I'll call that out when we get to it. And there's also 7 emeralds to collect instead of 6. Say that while I'm thinking of what I wanted to cover. Well, and since I mentioned about the game being faster, it kind of brings to mind, talking about speedruns. And, like, I mean, I've never participated officially with, like, any kind of speedruns with this game, unless you count the leaderboards of, like, the Xbox Live Arcade releases of the Sonic games and other Sega Vintage classics. But of course, cheaters broke those leaderboards almost immediately, so, like, if you can still access them, the top page is just nothing but cheaters. You'll see people with, like, clear times of 0 seconds or 1 second on a level. It's like, well, obviously you didn't actually do that, so. But it's something I've kind of had a bit of a sore spot with. I think kind of with the whole... It's not fair to say the whole community. That's putting too much of a blanket over every single person that's involved. But a large part of, like, this speedrunning community I'm a bit disillusioned with because of things like any percent on TAS, which I don't consider legitimate speedruns. Like, TAS can be interesting from a theoretical perspective of, like, hey, look what is technically possible within the game engine. Like, if you could do this, like, impossibly perfect run, but it should never be called a speedrun. Like, it should not be legitimized in that way, in my opinion. And I don't care who wants to try to smoke me in the comments for that. Even more, any percent, I have zero respect for. It's not interesting whatsoever. When I've watched people do speedruns of actually Sonic 2 in particular, and they do, like, the level wrapping trick, which, if you don't know what that is, like, you can find a spot in the geometry of the level where the game engine just kind of freaks out, it doesn't know where to place Sonic, and basically shoots him to the end of the level, but it happens so fast that the screen takes a minute to scroll to where he is so that you can go ahead and get your credit for completing the level. To me, that's like someone taking a chessboard and figuring out how to tilt it in such a way that your pieces slide into the checkmate position, and then saying, oh, I beat you. Like, again, I don't care if you want to try to smoke me for that one, that's like exactly how I see it. Like, if you're just goofing off, having fun, just seeing like what weird ways you can break the game, or like how the engine handles unusual situations, or unexpected ways that the game can break. Again, from a theoretical point of view, or just for goofs, that's fine. But don't call it a speedrun, and don't try to give it like this legitimatization that like, oh, it's so skillful, or like it's worth having a world record over, you know? I just don't care. I'm not impressed. I have no respect for it. And again, if someone wants to do one of those speedruns, and it's like for a charity event, and it raises money for a good cause, you know, I'm not gonna crap on that, but like the actual thing taking place, I have no respect for it. And you can try to say like, oh, well, it takes skill to like pull off this trick. That's kind of like calling a thief really skilled. It's like, well, maybe in a specific way, yes, but like, they could take all of that talent and energy and put it into something constructive, and instead they do this, right? It's like, so, that's a hot take, I'm sure, but it's something that was brought to mind from firing this up and just kind of reflecting on my time with it in different iterations. Because upon reflection, I realized that I never stopped being a retro gamer. Like, I was that sucker that kept buying, like, the Sega Vintage Collection games when they became digitally available, even though I never was without my Sega Genesis. You know, I got wrapped up in, like, achievement hunting, and, like, you know, I was keeping up with my friends and coworkers who were always on top of, like, the latest Xbox Live Arcade release, you know? Like, I keep messing this up. It's supposed to be a shortcut, but... when your shortcut ends up taking more time than just doing it the conventional way, oh, screw it. And you know, of course, in my practice runs, you know, I did this without a hitch, but... there we go. I saved 0 time there. Oh well. Now here we have the easiest boss in possibly all 16-bit Sonic. Count to 8, he's done! Or 2 measures of 4-4 for the drummers out there. 2 bars, 2 measures. I actually forget which is more accurate to say that. But you also have to understand that, you know, I'm a gamer from the 90s, so I also was exposed to things that possibly some of you either have never heard of or never directly interacted with. Things like Game Genie and Game Shark, which again were like, if someone was just like goofing off, or maybe they'd already mastered the game, just kind of wanted to see like what else was theoretically possible with it, or, you know, things like that. I was like, you know, that's fine, whatever, you know, it's not a big deal. But to say that, like, you pop in the Game Genie and you put in a code to make yourself invincible, and then, or to immediately zap you to the very end of the game, and then beat the last boss, and then say that you beat the game, it's like, well, depending on what kind of cheat that you used, you might be able to say you completed the game, as in, like, you saw, like, all the levels, or, like, more or less experienced most of what the game has to offer, right? But you didn't beat it. And this is a little more touchy, but, like, emulation and save states can kind of get to that point, especially, you know, save scumming. It's like, I'm not as judgmental because I understand that some people, for save states might be the only practical way to really, like, get their game time in, especially if you're talking about playing longer RPGs, adventure games, things like that. Or, you know, you've got a kid or a pet, you know, some kind of emergency comes up, or maybe you work an on-call job, and you just gotta get your game in sporadic bursts, you know. I can absolutely see where, like, maybe playing a game in an emulator that gives you save states when you originally didn't have save states could be a practical advantage. So I'm not gonna crap on it, but it's one of those things that's very easy to abuse. And you know, if you're save scumming your way, like, to the extreme of, say, like, in a beat 'em up, where you're, like, saving after every successful hit, in which you also do not take damage yourself, kind of thing. It's like, you're getting to a point you're barely playing the game, you're just, that's almost a tool-assisted speed run at a point, you know? And going back to TAS again, it's almost like, to me that's like someone being like, oh, I edited together a bunch of footage in such a way that it made it look like one smooth, continuous run, when in fact, it's cobbled together from a bunch of really bad runs, but you managed to take out, like, the few good bits that you did, you know? That's like, come on. Like, there's already enough, like, ill will in the world, and already enough, like, dishonesty, and cruelty, lies, deceits, you know, however many ways you want to put it. It's like, the last thing we need is to have that kind of thing in a hobby that's about fun and creativity and art and, you know, bringing some joy and positive escapism to people's lives, you know? And also, again, in fairness, like, it matters not as much in a single-player game, especially if that game doesn't have, like, leaderboards. But it's hard to even make that distinction anymore, just because of the prevalence of things like Twitch, where, you know, like, even single-player games have been turned into a kind of interconnected social experience, right? Or it's almost like a digital arcade, where, like, even if the game is one player, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's as fun, but it's almost like looking over someone's shoulder while they're playing an arcade cabinet, you know? That kind of shared experience. Probably compared a lot to the Sonic 1 video. I know it sounds like I'm talking a lot of smack, but I've seen a lot of things over the years that I haven't discussed, that I haven't spoken out against, or not done it in a more public way. At most it's been like, to a friend, or like maybe some of my Xbox Live friend groups that I used to have. Or sometimes we would have discussions on, like, you know, ethical behavior within video games and all that stuff. Yeah, there's just, I just wanted to talk about all of that while I was thinking of it fresh in my mind, and reminded of it from when I played this game in a few different iterations. Again, I know, repeating myself a little bit, but it's just, there's just already way too much that's bad and rotten in this world. Like, there's already like too many cheats and cons and liars. Like, we don't need to add to it. Like, I know my little video is not gonna stop, like, you know, all the hackers and cheaters and shortcut seekers. And all those people who think it's their life's mission to, like, instead of being able to just accept and enjoy something presented to you, often by people who are, like, experts at what they do. I mean, I would say game developers and designers in the 80s and 90s, and maybe early 2000s, were probably overall of a higher pedigree than now. That's not to say that there aren't amazing developers and artists in the game industry now, but it's like, it's a very corrupt and bloated industry. I think the talent that does exist often gets squashed by, you know, corporate mandate, and the blind pursuit of more profit. And how can we further monetize this game, you know? Sucking all the fun out of it. Yeah. I don't know if there would ever be a more appropriate time to bring it up, because it's what I just said, kind of is leading into this. But it's like, on one hand, especially in gaming, but probably also in the general, like, computing world and the internet. And on one hand, I am impressed that there are people that have this knack for, like, just being able to crack into anything, and not even always maliciously. Sometimes just, like, the people that, like, cracked into, I think it was BioShock 2, and figured out that, like, the game's DLC expansions were already on the disc, and that what you were paying for was just a small little, like, license file. So, like, you know, that's a positive benefit of someone, like, who knows how to, like, dig into, like, what's actually in the game, right? Or people that have figured out how to effectively reverse engineer old consoles to create clone hardware and kind of help keep the platform alive for the people that enjoy it, you know, that's cool. But then on the other hand, I kind of, like, balk at the people that just can't seem to, like, accept or enjoy something, especially a piece of art as it is. Like, they've always got to rip it apart, or hack it, or modify it, or, like, it's just never good enough. So I have mixed feelings on that. I feel like sometimes that gets related to cheating, and sometimes it doesn't. It's tricky. Like, but again, I think, like, we just need more people doing those kinds of things and using those kinds of talents for the benefit of others. And in this particular hobby, more of it to actually preserve what we enjoy, and not just using preservation as a buzzword to cover up your high seas activities. Like, no one out here is like a digital Robin Hood, you know, fighting against tyranny. But I think we just... I guess that's a really long-winded way of saying, like, hey, instead of putting your energy into cheating, put more of your energy into fun and positivity and joy, and, like, you know, increasing the joy of someone else, or at least reducing their suffering, you know? Or, I guess it's, to put it in an even more cliched, hokey way, it's like, use your talents for good. I know there's more people that try to smoke me in the comments on this video than the Sonic 1 video. The not as positive things I had to say in that video were more so just about my own past, and the only smack I was talking was about one of my exes, the worst of my exes. Well, that's hard to say. I've had some doozies. dangerous position. No rings. I've always thought this boss fight was really cool. Like, once you figure out how to use the momentum to just kind of keep swinging around, and because you can't continually bounce on that boss, but you can figure out how you can swing around and keep hitting him just as soon as he's vulnerable again. It's fun. If you haven't figured it out by now, I think there's a lot of things that I've kind of been holding back. Like, I've expressed myself in my blog, but sometimes text alone doesn't always convey the full range of emotions I feel about certain topics, and I feel like even though I don't consider myself a good orator, you know, I have problems with public speaking, and there's physical problems with my voice, and you know, I'll explain it later in more detail, like probably in a video where it's more, I can explain it better and not have my attention split between the game and trying to, you know, provide an interesting commentary. But I've had some damage to my face and other things from some really bad bike wrecks. On top of having severe social anxiety and, you know, being a textbook introvert, having had the experiences I've had in life that have really beat me into the dirt. Just a lot of things stacked against my confidence to speak, so said that to set up that up until now I've been more comfortable blogging about the things that I really want to say. And I do feel like I'm more talented as a writer than a speaker. But darn it, there's just a lot of things I haven't said in the blog that I'm saying now. I don't know, it's not that the 90s were like completely innocent and squeaky clean. Like, you know, of course there was greed in video games, of course there were cheaters and swindlers and con artists, you know, that comes with the package of the human condition, you know, but it's like, before the internet really came into being as we all know it today, it's like, it really was a different world, and like, people were nicer to each other, or like, the video game industry in particular was willing to take risks, and it was more about having fun and trying to provide like an interesting experience, like nothing like you could get on TV or going to the theater or a play or even a concert. Like, it really leaned into the whole aspect of like, this is, you're interacting with another world, however rudimentary it may be, and you're getting to escape to these fantastic places and like interact with these crazy, far out characters that, you know, you would never see in anything else, or almost never see in anything else. And now there's aside from like the corrupt monetization and all the horrible things that have happened as soon as PCs and then later consoles were fully integrated with the internet. There's also this push that, you know, games have to be so realistic at all costs. It does have to be cinematic. Like, you know, I feel like there's a place for games like Heavy Rain, Death Stranding, Detroit Become Human, etc. Those should be, like, pretty stark minority, in my opinion. Like, that shouldn't be what drives the industry or the technology behind gaming. And, you know, I love and respect Hideo Kojima, but I don't personally want to see a future where movies and games merge and become basically unrecognizable as separate entities. I think the diversity of the different mediums is what makes them awesome. And is there a place for both? Like games that feel like movies, or movies that feel like games, however you want to put it. I think there's a place for them. It just shouldn't be what every game is striving for, or the industry standard. But, anywho, I'm getting wildly away from anything related to Sonic 2 or Sega. It's just... Again, if you haven't watched the Sonic 1 video, you know, there are aspects of this that are like a Let's Play and a little bit of sprinklings of a review of the game. But it's like, you know, Sonic 2... I adore the game, and always will, but, you know, reviews of the game have been done to death. Like, there's Let's Plays everywhere, so I'm not pretending to be doing anything special. This is for my personal archive of self-expression and capturing this moment. Like, I'm playing one of my favorite games, my favorite game system, exactly the way it was designed. Like, I'm on a CRT, using original unmodded hardware with my original Sonic 2 cartridge that I've had since 1982. Like, it's just a pure time capsule of one of my favorite experiences to have in my life, especially within this hobby. It's the kind of thing that I would like to survive me when I'm no longer here. And failing that, at least have a net positive influence. Like, again, I know I've talked some smack here. You know, frankly, I think there's some entities within the gaming world that need to be knocked down a peg or two. But I do want it to be a net positive. Like, I want it to be... I want the joy that I had playing the game to shine through, and hopefully I say something funny, insightful, meaningful, and that the people that I love and care about, and also the people that are part of the gaming community, but especially like the retro gaming community, people that are either grew up with this stuff or are just discovering it for the first time, or maybe the kids of my generation have had a chance to be exposed to this and realize, like, oh, this still has merit, right? Like, this, it's called obsolete and outdated. Like, I argue that outdated, yeah, technically. Obsolete, not so sure. It still does exactly what it was designed to do, and it does it well. You know, no game console or game cartridge or disc or even digital download is invincible or immune to the entropy of time or neglect. But it's like, but also, quite frankly, I think the Genesis and this cartridge will probably outlive me. But even if it doesn't, you know, and even if this video doesn't last forever, if it can have a positive effect on someone's life, yeah, I guess generally speaking, just be entertaining, or for people that I care about and that are part of the community that I really enjoy being involved with, you know, if they can appreciate it, it's all worth it. But that's what I want to leave behind. So, whatever you want to call it, a time capsule, an archive, just a video uploaded to YouTube in the style of something you'd see on my Twitch channel. I guess you could call it many things, but this is part of my art and my expression, and a big part of who I am. Like, in as far as a camera, microphone, and all the other equipment can capture that. In my opinion, you can't digitize people and the human experience, but maybe we can at least capture, like, something vital and alive in this, right? This ain't procedurally generated by AI, I can tell you that. At some point, like, because I think it deserves its own video, I'm gonna talk some mad smack about AI, right? Which shouldn't be called AI, because that's an insult to an actual, like, artificial, synthetic, sentient being. But I think I've played enough Skyrim to know that procedurally generated media is not a good idea. You can throw all the deep learning you want into it, it's like, I'm reminded of the joke, well, it's a whole skit, really, from Viva La Dirt League. I'll give them a little shout out. Those were some wonderful comedians and entertainers over there. I should say down there in New Zealand. The skit about, I think it was Rowan. It was like, Ben talking to Rowan as the blacksmith was like, have I already hit the procedurally generated content? Like, it's like no gamer actually wants to get to that point, you know? It's like, if you have to use an AI or some kind of algorithmic script to generate more content, your game's probably too bloated and big anyway. Just putting that out there. And that's not even something I would blame a dev for necessarily, you know, that's like mismanagement or like some misguided producer or shareholder or executive that's like saying, this game's gotta be bigger, there has to be a minimum number of hours of content. The word you should be using is gameplay. Now, when I play other games in this series, I will actually get more into the games themselves. Like, again, I'll repeat myself, I adore Sonic, but, you know, these games have been covered to death, and if you don't really know about them, there's probably better videos to watch if you're looking strictly for, like, history and information. It's not that I don't care about those things, or don't have an interest in those things. It probably also has to do with just the fact of, like, how many hundreds of playthroughs I have done on this, where I'm just kind of like, It's almost autopilot. Like, I don't think I could play it blindfolded. Because there's too many parts that are as much reflexes as memorization, but, like, it's close. I said that to say that it probably makes me a little bit numb as to, like, thinking of, like, things to call out as they happen. But, for example, like, I always thought the stage, like, the heat effects were always really interesting. Like, I mean, it seems so basic now, but, like, it was just cool to see, like, the way the background scrolls, and way the color choices and the animated sun, like, really give off the impression of, like, an oppressive sort of heat. I think especially with the composite dithering, you get a real sense of, like, even though the sun is the only thing that's doing that, like, squiggly, like, heat effect, that, like, everything really, really hot in this zone here. I totally went the wrong way. As much as I was on autopilot, I did flub. I think I missed one of my jumps that I usually do. But it's okay. I will find my way back. Oh no! I lost my collection of rings. Big sad. Watch as I mess up the timing of this jump several instances in a row. Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. Is she gonna die? Possibly. Oh, yeah. That was pretty embarrassing, actually. I know how to do that. I just totally, like... That's, like, the downside of having a pretty locked-in, like, path that you take through the level, is that when you deviate from it, it's like, oh wait, it's been quite a few playthroughs since I took this route. What was it like again? That's what I usually do. And I wasn't even keeping track. Was I on the way to a 1 credit clear and I just screwed it up? Because this... So what was it someone, I think, I'll go ahead and give another channel a mention, like, PK in the Universe, I think was talking about, or maybe someone in the comments of one of his videos, either way, was talking about how, like, in the Wild West, in the old days of YouTube, like 2007, and near about those times, where if you did a Let's Play, and you did the slightest thing wrong, like, you know, the uber nerds and the trolls would come out and really, like, just light you up in the comments, right? It's like, if you're that kind of person, I'm not interested in your comment, quite frankly. I'm not interested in perfection. Now, sure, it'd be nice to... I like getting my 1 credit clear runs, and I like playing well. It's satisfying, but... Unlike me, when I was, like, 6 or 7, 8, etc., I'm not gonna throw a hissy fit because I made a mistake in a game. In fact, I think that makes it more interesting. If nothing else, it was entertaining, right? Alright, here we go. I'll do a little bit more actual Sonic commentary. Like, okay, this zone, when I hear Sonic 2 brought up, like, on social media, Anti-social media, that's what it is. And all those things, it's like, yeah, this is the zone that's like the nightmare-inducing one, right? It's like, oh, I couldn't beat it, or like, oh, it took me forever to beat it, or like, it's just like the most unfair level ever. It's like, no, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna blindly defend it. It does have some bullshit. But I've never found it to be like the end-all be-all difficulty in, you know what, let me go ahead and just get that emerald now, just in case I do something really silly on the Wing Fortress zone. And then I'll just have to be careful not to turn into supersonic, as per my plan. But I never found this zone to be quite all that. Like, it's tough, but it's probably more so that there are a couple specific, like, really unfair parts that are difficult to, like, have a do-over if you screw them up. But it's really not that bad. Probably my biggest tip is if you're not very experienced or playing this for the first time, would be like, just always expect something dastardly. And then just spend some time studying each of the badniks. They are really nasty, but unlike most of the other enemies in the game, which are pretty straightforward to defeat, the ones in this level have some specific behaviors and tells that you need to kind of study for a little bit, and then you kind of figure out, like, oh, this is how I should approach them. As a kid, it didn't take me long to, like, just beat Sonic with the standard ending and not getting all the emeralds. I do distinctly remember, I think it was Emeralds 6 and 7 used to give me a lot of trouble, and so it was the longest time before I even knew Super Sonic was in the game, because again, you have to remember, there was no internet, or there was barely an internet, and it certainly wasn't accessible to us plebes. And then I didn't even know, like, Sega Visions was a thing at the time, or other gaming magazines until later. We're probably talking more like 1994 is when I first realized that, oh, video game magazines are a thing. Like, this is awesome. So I had no idea. I mean, I would guess that we're probably talking a number of months before I realized, like, what was hidden in the game. And to get the true ending. Oh, I did not hit that button. Oh my gosh. The tragedy. There we go. Oh, nuts. This is probably the trickiest thing to figure out in this level, is kind of getting the hang of spinning those corkscrew nuts just the way you want them. And occasionally, they're part of a trap, so you just have to... Oh shoot. I wasn't supposed to get 50 rings. In this one, as soon as you jump, when you have 50 rings, and you've collected all 7 emeralds, you automatically turn into Super Sonic. Whereas in Sonic 3, you have to hit the jump button another time to trigger the transformation. But I was close to the end of the level anyway, so it's fine. I'm trying to get the good ending, but not use Super Sonic as a crutch. Now Now, Supersonic can get himself into some trouble. You can actually go too fast. It was programmed a little better in Sonic 3. You couldn't quite make the game freak out as much. And he wasn't as fast as in Sonic 2. And you could get yourself in a situation where, like, you end up running through your 50 rings pretty fast, and then you lose your transformation in a bad spot. So Supersonic's not a guaranteed, like, I win, but it still does make the game stupid easy. And I'm not interested in that. Plus, it's not as bad here as in Sonic 3, especially the base Sonic 3 game, but the music that plays when you become Supersonic is really repetitive. It's one of the few pieces of music in the game that I could probably go without. It's okay, it's not a bad piece of music, but it's too short of a loop. If you're in a level for like 2, 3, or 4 minutes, things like that, it's getting old. This is the most that I have talked in one day, and like, I literally can't remember. Whoops. See, I looked at the camera for a little bit too long. So, you know, obviously I won't know until I play this back and do whatever editing is required, if any. If my voice is getting weaker, you know, it's not intentional. You gotta really press that button down and mean it. And mean it. Alright, come on. How to make basic things more difficult. 101. With Jessica Luna's daughter. There we go. As I alluded to earlier, you know, I do have a fear of public speaking, so I'm sure this won't be the only time that I mention it, but getting to this point has taken a lot of courage for me to finally break through. Like, aside from the things that I struggle with that I mentioned in the Sonic 1 video, about the pressure to, like, how I have to take anything created like this, and I have to figure out how am I gonna make money off this? How is it gonna somehow, like, how am I gonna capitalize off it in some way, you know? Like, that can be such a tremendous pressure that you end up not creating anything, right? It becomes like a self-defeating notion. At least for someone like me, where like it's more about the art and the passion and creativity and the love for what you're doing and trying to express what you're sharing with other people. So I mean, YouTube's been around, you know, since what, at least 2007, if not sooner. And you know, there's that part of me that's like kicking myself, like, oh, you know, I could have gotten in on the ground floor if I just had more confidence. Had my shit together, and like, really like, knew what I wanted to accomplish and express and share with the world and all these different things. But, you know, you could beat yourself up with that kind of thinking all day, because like, he's got a really small hitbox. There's nothing to be done. Like, there's a million what-ifs. But the other thing is, there's also a million negative what-ifs. Like, what if I had been one of those people that found early success on a platform like YouTube, and then got hit by that first wave of, like, the ultra-aggressive copyright strike bots. Or something like that. Or got swept up in a scandal, like, while collaborating with another channel. It's like, you know, you can't beat yourself up all day. It's just, you'll never get anywhere. Like, there's a million could've, would've, should've's, but I'm doing it now, and, you know, maybe from the viewpoint of, like, being able to have any kind of career out of this, maybe I missed the boat as far as, like, the best opportunities to do that. And if so, that's fine. That was dastardly. Did you see? It was really, those blades are really out for me. Now, this part does suck, because if you mess something up and you fall off this corkscrew, you have to, like, super backtrack to get the nut to, like, respawn into the position that you need to have another try. So that was a little bit evil on Sonic Team's part. Okay, but I'm getting off the point that I wanted to make. It's like, so I have all those concerns, right? And then also, you know, my past with abuse and bullying and the physical injuries that I've had, and just, you know, all these things working against my... You know, I just wanted to beat this boss clean. I was off by like half a second. I don't know. I was off by more than half a second there. Why did I misjudge that so badly? Alright. I should practice this boss more with, trying to do without having to cheese the whole, as long as you grab one ring, you're fine mechanic. Alright, that point that I was trying to get her back around to, I'll forestall it for another moment, because I do want to talk about this stuff. This is what I was talking about when the game was starting to creep in, like, just little elements of visual storytelling. Like, the first game was purely just hopping from zone to zone without any real context or sense of progression. The only one that made sense from a storytelling point of view was kind of like, okay, you end up in one of Robotnik's machine cities for the last confrontation. But this little zone right here is like a little, like, storytelling intermediate. Is that the right word? Where it's like, okay, we pursued Robotnik to another machine city, or maybe it was another part of the same one from Scrap Brain. And, you know, we flushed him out, we've harassed his plans, and he's gonna escape to his aircrafts, and he's gonna have to try to launch the Death Egg prematurely because Sonic has forced his hand. And this is a transition piece showing, like, oh, this is how Sonic gets from Metropolis to the Wing Fortress. It even shows you the level that you're about to go into. I just thought that, you know, just a subtle way of having a little bit of visual storytelling. I just thought that was really cool. And this level is kind of like relaxing and serene, yet still has that sense of like, oh, we're heading towards something dangerous. That's really well done. Like, it never deviates, like it always takes the same amount of time and always follows the same path, but I just think it's a really fun and different level, so I applaud it. Plus there's turtles in it, and then even when they're machines, they're adorable. But okay, back to the point that I was trying to make, and hopefully I can make it before the game's over. That's Alright, I had all these things working against me, like, for doing a channel like this, and putting myself out there. Alright, I'm about to do something that is kinda cheesy. I don't know if that was ever intended to work. Like, the fan is supposed to be a hazard, like, if you don't time it just right, it does damage to you, but I don't know if that was ever meant to actually, like, suck you through the fan and shoot you up, so it skips part of the level. That is cheesy, and I know there's probably gonna be someone that's like, oh, you talk crap about, like, any % people and level wrapping, but then you do a level skip like that. It's like, I don't know. I might stop using that, I don't know. It's one of those weird things where, like, it feels kind of like it was meant to do that, but then I'm not totally sure. And then if you're supersonic, you can jump from here to there and, like, skip another big part of the level. It's crazy. Cray cray. Alright, let me finally get back to the... Maybe that can be, like, one of the, in-jokes on the channel, if we come up with some. Like... Is she ever gonna make the point she was trying to originally? Alright, it's about public speaking confidence, like, you know, I've had these physical injuries, and, I mean, like, fortunately, on camera, like, the damage that those bike rips did to my face was not super obvious, but, you know, it is still something that bothers me. Oh shoot, I don't want to be supersonic. I have no choice, do I? Okay. I could have waited until that lamppost. I got it in my head that, like, oh, what if I get overconfident and screw up the last special stage, and then I've gotten this far and can't get the good ending. But now I could let my rings run out and see how I do vanilla against this boss, but, like, I don't really want to waste a minute of runtime. We can always do another playthrough of this on Twitch, right? That's what it's there for. I could try to do, like, a pure, no supersonic speedrun playthrough or whatever. Anyway. All those physical things I talked about, like, so it's a big deal for me to be doing this, is what I'm trying to say. So... just be understanding. And it's something that I'm gonna try to, as I do more of these, you know, hopefully you'll see just an organic increase in quality as I get better at being in front of the camera and being cohesive with my speech. But it is difficult. Like right now my voice hurts. Like, you know, I've done 2 videos today and I actually did some test footage before that. And, I have difficulties projecting, like, it's partly a confidence thing, it's partly, like, a breathing thing, like, there's different factors, right? It's really difficult for me to project and to talk for any protracted length of time with any strength whatsoever, okay? So, just please bear with me on that. Like I said, I'm a better writer than I'm a speaker, and that will always be the case. But this is largely new ground for me, and that was unbelievably close to a disaster. I fight this boss a little more cautiously than I probably need to. Like, you can get it done faster, for sure. There is a glitch with this boss. Like, it tends to happen more if you try to hit him when he lands and then bends over like that. You're supposed to bounce off of bosses. Right, really, most enemies when you hit them. There's an occasional glitch that happens. I don't know the exact cause. I'd be interested if anyone happens to know that, if they want to comment. Like, what in the programming causes it to happen. But sometimes you just clip through, and then you land on the spiky arm. I've lost so many one-credit clear runs to that. Like, had basically a perfect run, right? And then almost had the boss finished, and then clip through. I'm fighting him especially slow right now while I'm explaining this, but I could have taken so many more shots at him. But I just want to get it done, even if it takes a little longer than usual. So. But one silly thing, for some reason when I was little, I thought that the only vulnerable part of the robot was the black, like, undercarriage. Somehow I got it into my tiny little head that, like, oh, on Robotnik's, like, hover pod, the black area is, like, the biggest target, and that's always, if in doubt, that's always the vulnerable spot, right? And maybe also what happened is maybe I tried to attack him in another place and clipped through, or my aim was off, and I thought, oh, he's just not vulnerable. You just have to hit him in the undercarriage. Which sounds kind of dirty, but, you know. So I actually made the fight harder. Like, I waited until he bent down and then struck the underpart and bounced off that way. Which now seems like a really scary way to try to fight the boss. It's like, wow. Like, talk about putting yourself in danger, little Jess. The fight is pretty easy though, once you realize that as long as you keep him to one far side, like, none of what he tries to do is gonna reach you. I think it's one of those bosses that's kind of meant to freak you out, and, like, kind of harass you into making a poor choice of where to, like, coax him into landing, but, you know, then you just figure out, oh, I just kind of keep him to one far side. It's slow, but it works, you know. Plus, I think he takes 12 hits instead of the usual 8, so it just takes that much longer to see it through. And it makes it more intense when you're like, when you've lost count, you're like, oh wait, how many times have I hit him? How careful do I need to be to not have to start all over? Although I have a feeling that the next one will do him in. What do you think? But it's not a live stream, so you can't say. Sorry. This is some cool explosions, eh? And we get a cutscene. It wasn't very common back then. And this was the first game that I played. Like, I know that other games have done it before. Like Ninja Gaiden and such, but I was like, oh wow, the game's actually got like a story. This little storyboard here, it's cute. Makes me feel like a real hero. And the music's so good. I still get bumps. For it. It's such an awesome medley. Opportune time to mention. Oh, Yuji Naka, respect. But, look at the size of the team. You don't need a team of hundreds or even thousands to make a good video game. You don't need a budget of millions or even billions. And I'll say this again. Evolution has not had enough of an effect in 20 or 30 years for the human brain to suddenly not be able to find something like this fun. It's like you've been culturally programmed to think that, oh, this is old hat, it sucks, it's obsolete, it's useless, it's just kid stuff, or it's just for the nostalgia people who are trying to desperately reclaim the past. If the human brain was capable of finding this artistic and fun and worth escaping into in 1992, it still is now. And I'm not trying to take a dump on modern games. There are some really good modern games. But your expectations have been sculpted. Sometimes in positive ways, but just as often, I bet, if not more, by the pursuit of profit and pulling more money out of you, the gamer, and the industry and the hobby. And keeping you in that rabbit hole of like, always gotta have the newest tech, you gotta get the new TV. It's like, oh, 4K is not good enough now. Now you need 8K. You know, you gotta upscale and convert everything. If it's not running at 60 or 120 FPS, it's garbage. You know, it's like, it's a never-ending rat race. Like, you know, you'll have 8K and then someone will be on, actually, it's not 16K, so it sucks. You know? When I do obnoxious comic book nerd verse, oh my gosh, I solely butchered that. When I do obnoxious comic book nerd voice, somehow I slip into Murderface from Metalocalypse, so. Oh, but look, the Attract mode has the 2-player mode. It's not the greatest 2-player mode ever, but it's still pretty cool that it's here. Depending on your skill levels, it's probably not very fair, but it can still be a fun way to play the game, you know, with like a sibling or a partner or a friend. A friend whose relationship with you don't mind endangering with some heated 16-bit action. But that was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And the next video, it's probably going to be Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Just because I'm on a roll with this, and I feel like it's probably makes more sense for the sake of, like, kind of getting the series off to a healthy start, where it's like I'm not trying to be a factory here that's just pumping out videos as a product, right? But it'd be good to kind of get off to a start of, like, having a decent, like, initial catalog. And so starting with the games that I'm the most familiar with probably makes the most sense as far as just being able to get a pretty good head start, like, on the series, right? And give myself a little confidence when I start to tackle the games that I'm going to have a harder time with, right? So I'm ending the recording. I'm going to enjoy the sound test for a little bit with some of the music that you only get to hear in the, two-player mode. There it is. See you all next time.